right, y'all. Welcome to another special show with Politics and Poltricks. You decide with Tula Cabon and co-host Justin Barnett. Co-host Tula Cabon and Justin Barnett. We have a special show today with a wonderful, let me say it, wonderful person, El Janae, who's a field organizer in Macomb County and Wayne County for a vice president Kamala Harris. But y'all know I always start out by saying, if you hear the sound of my voice, that God has blessed you to see another day. So let's get an amen. Amen. So I'm going to let her now introduce herself and what she does, and then we're going to get right into it.
Hey guys, I'm basically Elshanae Davis. I'm just a field organizer with CADC. We basically work for the Democratic Party, like you know, Kamala Harris. And I basically recruit people, interviews, and things like that, and manage the canvassers.
So let me ask you this. What made you have an interest in doing that? Let me start there.
Well, I recently just turned 21, so I did want to be knowledgeable on who I'd be voting for this year. So I definitely got pulled towards it because they actually recruited me and they liked my resume. And as soon as I got in, it was such a lovely crowd. I just fell into it.
So you're a young, is it Gen X? Help me understand.
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. But, they're always trying to characterize people
in
the Gens and Zs and Ys. Well, I heard, so let me say this for the audience that's listening. What made me ask her to come on, I heard fascinating things about her. And one thing that really made me really look at her in a very special way, with respect I say that, is that she allowed this individual who introduced me to her, who unfortunately did some prison time, and he was passionate about her, but she did not judge him. She gave him an opportunity, and she told me that he's one of the best canvassers that she has. So, and these are the type of people that I say we need in a community. Somebody that believes in giving people a second chance, despite any obstacles they may have come across or been involved in. El Janae, what made you become that person? Then we'll go into the question. I need to know that because I'm going to tell you, that's a special type of person.
Well, a long story short, I've always been treated differently, and I see other people get treated differently way back in school, and I've always hated it. I've always disliked discrimination of anything, any form of it. So when I first met him, he was definitely like a wild card. And he, told me about, how he did go to prison. And I just saw something super special in him because he wasn't like some rough, bad kind of guy. And even if he was, we hire people, we're felony friendly anyways. But he just had such a jittery kind of wild kind of personality. And the other people that I worked with, not going to say any names, but they really didn't like it. And I'm just like, why is it like that in this world? Soon as when someone is different, soon as when someone got a different opinion or a way of speaking, you just judge them off rip. I do not like that. And I was just like, you don't have to ask them for help. I can be your FO. You can speak to me if you have any questions or concerns, and I can help you.
And FO meaning so people don't feel organized, correct?
Yes.
So yeah, and she is the manager?
Basically, I'm one of the managers of many others, and we just field organizers, so we just organize the campaigns, we recruit people, schedules, we do interviews, assessments, everything like that. And then there's a higher bracket like supervisor and the manager of the entire thing.
Okay, so let's get right to it. And I keep notes, and I told you I'm fact-based. So when Donald Trump states that he's done more for black people since Lincoln, what is your opinion of that?
I don't think that to be true. Just because he did stimulus checks doesn't mean that you're actually doing anything that improved the economy or black people in specific.
Well, let's even be clear. And because we're here today to dispel myths. He did the stimulus checks because the Democratic House and the Democratic Senate passed the stimulus checks. Mm-hmm. And what I explained to people is that during COVID-19, which he definitely mismanaged. So let's be clear about that. That was a crisis. We was headed in depression. There was nothing open. So it wasn't like he had a choice to say, nah, I'm going to veto the stimulus bill. You know, but people don't understand that it was a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate that passed it in order for him to sign it. Would I be correct about that?
Yeah, definitely.
And he demanded that his name be put on that check. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's look at the second part 2 of the stimulus bill, right? Which was under the Biden administration at that particular time, because in October of 2020, Donald Trump wanted to pass the second stimulus bill, and the leader of the Senate, not Joe Manchin, did not want to pass it, so it didn't go through. But President Biden won. We got the second stimulus bill. The second stimulus bill was passed under a Democratic president, and I'm gonna add this: none of the Republicans voted for it. So and the reason I'm saying this, because people have to understand, when they say that he gave us that stimmy, he didn't give you the stimmy. COVID-19 gave you the stimmy.
Yeah.
Would I be correct about that?
Yes.
COVID-19, because if it wouldn't have been COVID-19, you wouldn't have got the stimmy under that president. You wouldn't have got the stimmy. Would I be correct?
You're correct. A lot of people will sit up here and say, oh, yeah, since he did this for us, we're going to vote for him again. That's because of COVID. There's no more COVID anymore. And even if there is, we're not going to shut everything down.
So I got to ask you this. When you meet people and you explaining that we're going to say people in general. Let's go there. But let me say this. Specifically African Americans who are marginalized, poor and marginalized. When you tell them that, do they argue you down that you're wrong? Like, no, you're wrong. That's not how it went. Do you feel like you at a brick wall sometime? Like, okay, there's no getting through to this person. So
sometimes, yeah. I would say sometimes. Other times they're more so likely to agree with Kamala. But definitely they do have a kind of mindset of like, no, this is what's right. Y'all haven't saw the news. Y'all didn't, do your research.
That's what they say to you?
Yes.
Wow. Anyway, so let's go to the next one. So Donald Trump always state that he done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln. I'm repeating that, right? So let's deal with facts. Let me give you that. And then Brian Donaldson, who is a black Republican from Florida that grew up, I think, in Brooklyn, criticized the Great Society. He said the Great Society is the worst thing that ever happened to African Americans. So let me explain what Lyndon Baines Johnson did under the Great Society. Let me give you a few things he did. And I got it written down right here. Now, he created something called the War on Poverty. He actively pushed Congress to pass legislation attacking illiteracy, unemployment, and racial discrimination. All right? Soon after taking office, Lyndon Baines Johnson. Okay, let's go. Let's keep moving. 1.2. Let's go. Grace. I'm sorry. Let's keep going. He did the Civil Rights Act, 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. All right. Now this is what Lyndon Baines Johnson did. Let's go even further for those who don't understand understand what happened with affirmative action. Executive Order 11246. Signed by President Lyndon Baines Johnson on September 24th, 1965. That was the first affirmative action bill signed by Lyndon Baines Johnson. And the purpose was because African Americans were being discriminated, as we are now, as was then, in schools and jobs. 1967, he amended that order to add women and other minorities in the bill. But so, when Donald Trump, again, and this is just a few of his accomplishments, when he stated that he did more for black people than Abraham Lincoln. Now, I just read you a few of Lyndon Baines Johnson achievements. Voting Rights Act, because up to that point, we was having problems. Mm-hmm. He implemented the law. He said, hey, ain't no more of that. Then he did the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So, my question to you is, now that and I'm sure you're familiar with the facts. Now that when you hear these facts, when you hear people say, because I hear black people say it, I'm like, are you for real? Oh, he done more for black people how do that make you, like, do it make you cringe or say, hold on, let me educate you in a productive way? And do people refuse to hear your side of your point of view when you bring those facts?
It's kind of like both ways. It's heartbreaking, though. That's how I feel about it, because actually he was in a documentary stating that he did not want any black people or different origin people in his apartment complexes. He actually got sued for that and fought against it and didn't plead guilty. So it was a lot of complaints on those parts of him not working with black people. And then he won the case and continued down that road. And that's why he's who he is now. He throw his enemies under the bus and just stab at them however way he wants to. He gets away with it.
So let's go even further. When Donald Trump says that he gave more money to HBCUs than any other president, I got facts here. Let's go to facts. HBCU get historical funding from Biden administration. $16.16 billion was spent on HBCUs. And this is by the USA Today. You hear me? And I'm going to tell you, USA Today. Well, anyway, it's by USA Today. So when he said that he gave more money, HBCUs are historically black colleges. When you hear that, now we know it ain't true.
Right.
But this is the thing, LJ, a lot of people don't know it's not true because they don't have information like this. They don't have a direct connection as I do to speaking with you. So now when you hear that now, how do you approach them and say, hey, that's not true at all?
I can definitely try to go head first, because even when you look up the information or any questions that you have on the internet, they'll straight try to towards you to somewhere else. They're not going to actually tell you the truth. And that's why ignorant is bliss, because it sucks that lower class citizens or anybody just as much as myself can't get this type of information that we want. So when it is just being broadcasted as, oh, Trump does this, he does this, we have to believe it sometimes. And it's like, you got to just try to do more research. And even then, you might not even like get a bit of the icebergs of what the truth is.
So, I mean, when you evaluate the agenda of Trump, Donald Trump, compared to Kamala Harris, what is his agenda? Let's do that. What is his agenda for Black America? Now, he tried to say it's the platinum plan. They never implemented last time. Let's go there. That's his comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, when it comes to Kamala Harris or his agenda, what have you seen anything that could compare to Kamala Harris' agenda?
The only thing that they actually agree on is like dropping taxes, but that's about it. He only cares about immigrants, the border, and rising costs and like just stuff like that. He will not let this immigration down. He got rid of the ISIS, he said. And it's just a lot about this borders that he want to kick people out and actually have American and only American companies work in America and take away all of the different companies that's outside. So it's like, if we're talking about China, that's where most of our stuff come from. If we can't do anything business with them, otherwise they'll be taxed even more. How are we supposed to actually have only American factories with only American people? So he's not really actually trying to do anything that'll benefit us as a community or economy. He just wants to do what he wants to do. He just don't like immigrants. He don't like different kind of people. I really strongly believe that's why he got his racist title from.
Well, let me say this. That's interesting that because when I talk about immigration, let's go there. I'm being just blunt. When I hear Republicans cry about immigration, right? So the African Americans have a different perception on immigration than a Republican, right? They sit and talk about terrorism and we worry about this and that. Well, I as an African American, I'm worried about the Proud Boys. I'm worried about racism Because what I say, ain't an immigrant has never lynched a black man or black woman. An immigrant has never enslaved a black man or black woman. An immigrant ain't never denied us jobs. An immigrant ain't never did anything to our community. An immigrant ain't never sat on United States Supreme Court and denied us just obliterated affirmative action. An immigrant ain't never did something to the Voting Rights Act. So the whole thing behind immigration, in my opinion, is strictly about race. And it's only about race because it is a dog whistle to jam people up. And why I say that? Because if you look at people who are so-called immigrants, right, that a lot of them work for rich people. Like we don't hire immigrants to work on side of the road. We don't hire immigrants to work at these big corporations. We don't. So when you say that to us, we like, whoa, hold on. Right? Because immigrants been coming over to this country prior to President Biden coming there was getting in there. They've been coming over here for years. So let's not act like that's a dog whistle. But I feel that Donald Trump is playing on that card because it jimmies up what was known as the Southern strategy by Nixon in the 1970s to get to poor whites to dig in their skin, make them upset, and come vote for him. Right? That's all this, because the people who are hiring immigrants are rich Republicans. I mean, am I right or wrong? What I said is they want the Democrats fight for the migrants, which is facts. They you got Jill Jollipaugh, head of the Progressive Party. They do all that. That's fine. But the Republicans hire them to work because we don't have that kind of money, right? Even though some of us that is affiliated with the Democratic Party. Now, our issue with migrant, and I'm saying this from a poor, marginalized black man perspective, that it's the policies of giving migrants more than poor people are getting. And this is something I think that as a family with the Democratic Party, we can have a conversation about that. You know, because when you look at people who is getting food stamps that's American, who's not out of house, who can't get housing, and they say a migrant coming and get in before them, LJNA, that's a problem. And I don't think the Democratic Party is ignoring that. Yeah. Right? I really think the Democratic Party, we can sit down, break bread, have a conversation about that. That's the black people policy. Our policy ain't got nothing to do with racism and that's an illusion. So I think that, LJNA, we have to distinguish that whenever we're talking about immigration, because Donald Trump, all three of his wives are immigrants. They're from Russia. I said that. You don't have to respond. I said that. So if you hate something so bad, you're not going to affiliate with that which you hate. You know, and I say that with respect. I'm not knocking, and I'm not saying this disrespectfully or none of that. But you say this, but all three of the women you have dated are not American women. So, I mean, and I'm just being realistic about that. With that said, what do you feel about what I stated? What's your opinion about what I just stated?
I feel like that is true. And I feel like Trump, in my opinion, is that kind of guy who thinks in a way of like, keep your friends close, but enemies closer. And it makes sense that he would think that way because it shows. It's like you don't want these people here, but you'll use them and to your advantage at that point. And then it's just like, okay, get rid of all the other trash. And it's crazy because he calls them illegal aliens. These are actually people we're talking about. People with families, friends, and kids and emotions. These aren't just aliens that came out of space and they just don't have no like human rights here. You want to just kick them out and that's it? We're just supposed to take over all of these jobs, take our jobs back, take this money back? We don't need that. We don't. We've never asked for it. So when he's trying to say, oh, I'm helping the economy if you make me your president, we never said do that. We just wanted more affordable housing. We just wanted higher paying jobs. That's what we care about. Right. We want lower tax rates. We don't want people to just get kicked out of here. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, I could see why he would, affiliate himself closely with those kind of people to get, more under their skin and use them like, oh, I don't hate you because I date you. No, you do.
Say it again. I like that. Say that again. That is
I don't hate you because I date you, yeah.
Wow. I like
but
that.
But you do.
I coined that phrase. I don't hate you because I date you. I like that. So, wow, that's powerful. I got chills. I like that because that's exactly what it is. You know, and the reason we having this conversation because we need to really narrow down African Americans' concept on immigration. Because when I have people calling to the radio show, they debating me about immigration. Oh, it's the immigrants, and I said, well, let me ask you a question. If you kicked all the immigrants out of America, will black people stop being discriminated against? Under the Republic, listen, will we stop being discriminated? The answer is no.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. So what is really the issue with us? It is the funding. It is the process. But we can sit down and have that conversation with a Democratic family. Under Republicans, you think you can have that conversation? Absolutely not. So another issue that I really, a good brother, you was able to download that. So another issue we gonna really talk about because Donald Trump loves talking about the Republicans. Let's have this conversation. The LGBTQ, they love attacking the Democrats for that. They got a commercial out on Kamala Harris talking about some stuff. But I really want you to. I don't know if you can hear this video. I want them to hear the words of their candidate, Donald Trump, and what he says about the LGBTQ. Y'all finna be shocked, y'all. Play it. Let's get it, Marquise.
Trump's speech jumping from terrorism, the economy, even remembering the 49 people who lost their lives in Orlando.
As your president, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens.
This part of his extra long 1 hour and 15-minute speech bringing a Trump supporter to tears.
I have a gay son, and I know that in his heart he feels the Republican Party doesn't embrace his lifestyle, but we do. We love him.
Okay, so that's fire. That's fire for fodder. Let me tell you why. You ain't never seen that video on Fox News. You ain't never seen what Donald Trump said at the RNC convention, that as your president, I will protect the LGBT. You don't even see that. So let's give a history of how the LGBTQ support Donald Trump. You have who they call the Log Cabin Republicans, who came about in 1977, rebelling against something called the Bridge Act, right? Let's go even further. In 2016, they were celebrating their historical milestone of being an organization. They was partying at Mar-a-Lago, dancing to YMCA. So now that you Republicans know this, because I hear a lot of people say, right, black and white, I'm voting for Donald Trump because the Democratic Party embraces LGBTQ. Well, so do Donald Trump. But it's hidden. He don't say the quiet part out loud. In fact, the Log Cabin's Republicans endorsed Donald Trump for president. I got that video too. So now that we know that, does that change the conversation when people are trying to scapegoat or run to a burning house, as they say, the Democratic Party, and run to the Republicans and think they're not going to be sitting to somebody who identified as LGBTQ? Right, so I'm going to go ahead and let you speak on that. You just see the video. That's real.
Well, I honestly feel like even if he can state that he does support them, it's not really going to make a great difference if he's this great guy. You can state that, but it surely don't seem like that with your racist, immigration issues anyways. So I would not trust anybody to even, okay, you'll do this? Great, let me go to you. That really wouldn't make sense to me. I would rather someone who's more so into peacemaking, more so into the actual helping the economy. I would believe their story of being, okay, you might support LGBTQ, maybe, but definitely Trump, that's almost laughable, honestly.
Well, I think that, so let me say, I agree with that. It's laughable. But if he gave any signaling to LGBTQ, it would be crumbs off the table. It would be nothing like the Democratic Party would be able to share with the LGBTQ. And the reason I'm saying is because people enrage me when they don't know or they speak as if they're speaking facts. Oh, the Republicans never embrace the LGBTQ. Yes, they do. And I just showed that. Regardless of what he say and what he do, he said that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I heard that he would not allow anybody to demonize or say anything against the LGBTQ at this convention they had. I think it was in July or June they had their convention. He wouldn't allow that to happen. So people have to, again, they have to know the information. But like you said, though, how much do you trust Trump? Right? It's like, what trips me out is, and I got to say this, LJ, when I see somebody that's an immigrant, a migrant, talking about they going to vote for Trump, and I'm just like the mayor of hand Trump, I'm saying this. And he said, I'm going to vote for Trump. I'll take the for what? The guy's talking about, he's talking about getting rid of 10 million immigrants. And this guy is serious. Trust and believe what he's saying. I think a lot of people think he's comical and he's not real. No, he's real. He's real. So what you said, I agree with that. But I had to show that video because I want people to know that he do support or say he do LGBTQ. Right. Now there's a lot of Republicans that bash Kamala Harris. She's a San Francisco liberal. She support this, but Trump do too. Regardless of how you want to say what he do, he said he do. So let's move on. My question, when it comes to poor black people, and I think that sometimes when the Democratic Party use the language, middle class, that they kind of skip over the marginalized and the poor. Because a lot of us, including myself, we don't see us as middle class. Now, we poor class. I say that with respect.
Yeah. So
when they say that, it makes us feel as if, okay, they're not talking to us. That appeal somehow pulls them to the Republican Party. The Republican Party don't distinguish class. They distinguish people. They say the American people. So that kind of makes people slide over there. So what, if you know, what is the agenda President Kamala Harris focus on poor people in America in a general sense, not just specifically African American, but in a general sense?
Well, she definitely wants to give money back to the first-time homeowners. She wants to lower costs. She wants to lower tax rates. She wants to basically pretty much just give back to her community. And I feel like that's a really good idea, especially someone as myself. I'm young. I'm trying to get a quality job, high-paying job, and also try to afford a house for the first time by myself. Nowadays, you got to either live with your parents or multiple roommates and barely make it. A lot of times I ate noodles and I didn't know what to eat the next day. So yeah, if you're actually trying to help me and not trying to kick out my neighbor who's Indian or some Muslim, perfect. That's fine. We can both live here and actually get some help because that's what we want. We don't want anybody to have to be forced out of here just because of who they are.
I like that. So, and President Kamala Harris did say that she's going to give homeowners, I think it was $25,000 to $50,000 stipend for the first time. So let me put this out here. And Trump said, "What about homeowners?" I hear crickets.
Crickets, yeah.
So let's have a conversation, right? Let's have a conversation. She said that, right? Also, going back to that, we have to really understand that everybody deserves housing. So I want to explain inflation because that is really the Republicans' rally cry. Prices are up. Trump even had groceries sitting on the table one time when he did a press conference. I'm like, man, you can afford all that. So this is nothing but just pandering to poor people to get them to believe that you are like them. No, you inherited $300 million like President Kamala Harris told him at the debate. She said $40 million. She told him that. So you kind of different. You don't know what it's like, as you say, to eat noodles like we do. Now, with that said, the inflation came from COVID-19. Nobody was working. Trump inherited a great economy from President Barack Obama. In fact, when COVID-19 happened, prices went down, everything went to President Biden and President Kamala Harris inherited that. They did the best they could do. And I explain to people that inflation comes from sometimes when companies have to, because after COVID-19, a lot of people don't want to go back to work because they're getting them stimmies. They're like, man, you ain't paying me enough money. So the companies decide to raise the wages, but they pass the cost on to the consumers. Am I correct so far?
Yeah.
So now what you was paying during COVID-19, because they was paying a certain wage, you was paying $1 and say 30 cents for eggs. They pass it on to you now. So now you paying $2 and $3 for eggs. They thinking that it's the president's fault. No. President Kamala Harris came up with the perfect language. You know what she said? I'm going to investigate companies for price gouging.
Yeah, she did say that.
She did say that. So give me some
cut the red tape, yeah.
Right.
I feel like that everything she said is what we all should be agreeing with because it has such a great deal to do with us, the middle class, lower class, poor people, everybody.
Right.
Of course, for the richer people, all they hear is, oh, we're going to get taxed a little bit more. Yes, and that's okay. You'll still be rich.
Right.
Unlike us, if we get taxed more, you're going to take half my check that I worked hard for. So, yes, I agree with everything Kamala's saying because if she can do that for us, we would get so much further. Like she keeps saying, we can actually own our own businesses. We can get help with those businesses to get started. If she actually make these couple thousand houses that she wants to do and actually help us get into those houses, it'd be such an easier chance for young adults or even older people, even people who got laid off and they lost their house. Right. And they can just get right back into the game without having to struggle with so many deposit issues, taxes, rates, and all of this type of issues. Just it'll help the actual economy, help the people directly.
I agree with that. And I like what she said because President Kamala Harris said that she'll give $50,000 for anybody that's trying to do a new business, start a small business. Mm-hmm. She'll give $50,000, $25,000 for people first-time home buyers. Yeah. And Trump plan is crickets, right? That's what I'm saying to today. And his plan is crickets. Because we know, particularly in the African-American community, as El Janae just said, she's a young black woman who's trying to get a housing. We should be able to do that. Yeah. And the hoops for us to jump, particularly if we come from a generation of poverty where our families couldn't save the money for us to get a housing or they couldn't afford a house. So now we trying to figure it out. So I feel, and this is just my opinion, which is common sense to me, if you got somebody who's running for president, who's telling you, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and you got somebody that's not saying, this is what I'm going to do, you need to really reevaluate your plan specifically. Now, let's go here. A lot of brothers, I feel when it comes to African-American marginalized and poor, the skilled trades, I feel like we need to really push a program to implement more skilled trades in the poor community for African Americans to take, or people in general. Let's use a general term. Mm-hmm. For people in general, push more skilled trades, right? In Detroit, the African American male, when it comes to working skilled trades, Detroit, they pass on a law. They say, hey, or give money out to construction companies. They say, okay, you got to hire a certain amount of African Americans to work. They don't, right? And some of these brothers aren't qualified. But even the unions, the construction unions, not the UAW, discriminate against African American men to get in the unions, to get their apprenticeship, to get the jobs. So I feel like we need to somehow, as President Harris said, break the red tape and set up skilled trades program for black men to be able to work and take care of their family. There's a statistic out. They said that when you look at the rate of class, meaning financial prosperity, middle class black men or black people are less likely to commit crimes compared to people who are marginalized and poor because they're able to financially take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. So when you got skin in the game financially, you ain't finna go out there and just shoot somebody. Yeah. You say, hey man, I'm making $50,000 a year. It's more of a focus. So I'm suggesting, and if you think that's a good idea, that we need to focus more on skilled trades in particularly the poor communities in general, African American community specifically, and we cannot allow unions to come in and guardrail those jobs and to figure out who they're going to dispense them to because of the racism that's in these unions that deal with construction. What is your opinion about that?
I definitely full-hearted agree with that idea, and especially like lowering the qualifications for it as well. I'm tired even myself of looking for jobs. You got to have a degree. You got to have these type of skills, a certificate. Why is that required for what, 17 maybe an hour? Probably 15? And it goes all the way back. Of course, people will complain and say, oh, well, you know, during slavery, we got a rough head start. Yeah, we did. And there's nothing changing it. When Detroit actually went bankruptcy, white people went to the suburbs. So, yeah, we're still robbing, killing. Our crime rates are through the roof, but there's nothing to do about it. Because like you said, yeah, we're broke. So if you're trying to go get some food for your kids or for yourself, you got to go take it. And some people who's been down the lines raised like that just do it just because that's all they know. But if you actually just get these more education, like Kamala keeps saying, better education, better schools, better opportunities for all of us, we could actually get this roll balling so we ain't got to keep on, as everybody else puts it, black people just keep complaining. Well, I wonder why. Because if you grew up around here, you'd see that, yeah, a habit will keep following through as if you just let it. You got to actually break it and actually help the community. They've forever been talking about Detroit's going to get fixed. They're going to take all those burnt houses down. It still looks the same, if not worse. So ain't nothing been going on. You got to actually put these schools in the systems, make them way better, you know, get them harder on the kids maybe, and actually have education be a very top of the charts important. Because if you're not educated, how you going to get a job? You can't even be qualified. So stop the qualifications. I'm not saying for the like dentists, if you want to be a dentist, yeah, go to school. But if it's something simple, why you making me go to school for that? A certificate? So trade school, yeah, I agree with that. Definitely make it more easier. And it's not a way of we can't try harder or we can't make it over there. Not. It's just we might not know how. Some people don't know. Some people come into my job all the time. They don't even have an ID. They don't even have a phone that's on. So working with that kind of environment, you're never going to get anywhere unless you actually get some help. And I feel like that starts with Kamala, honestly.
Come on, y'all. Let's give her a hand. Come on. See, that's I love your passion, Janae, and that's why it's good to have people who's been in our position, who struggle, right? Like, I can't have certain conversations, and I say this with respect, with people who's never struggled.
Yeah.
I can have this conversation with Donald Trump because he gonna give me the spin.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what it's like to eat noodles. Like you said, wake up. You do. So when you speak with passion. You're going to give people opportunity. I appreciate that. So let's get back to the unions. You said something that's true. The red tape is the unions when it comes to construction. Since the beginning of unions, right? They were supposed to be there to protect the interests of jobs, to make sure they represent the workers. The car industry, UAW, they work good. So when people think of union, they think of UAW. They don't think of construction unions, the piping unions, painting unions, drywall. I can go on and on. They don't think about that. Mm-hmm. Those unions is where the racism exists. So what they tell you, oh, well, no, we can't get this job. This job is strictly for the union. So now when you go see the union as a black man in skilled trade, hey man, we ain't got no room for you. So now you locked out your job. That's the red tape. Because in order for you to get that job, you have to get an apprenticeship. What you said, the red tape, you got to go get an apprenticeship, get a part of the union, and the union will hire you. That's where the discrimination is at. But even if you look at on the side of the road out here, right, that's working. You see a lot of white men that's with unions. You don't see a lot of brothers. And this is what I'm saying the Democratic Party has to fully address. But if we cut that red tape, we ain't got to worry about that. That is, cut the red tape. Let these brothers get a skilled trade school. You go to school, because you got to know what you're doing. You go to school, you can compete for that job. We finna eliminate just union dominating the jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the problem is at Janae. Particularly in our community. There's a lot of building. You got brothers that walk past that would love to work. They would love to work, Janae, but they can't because the union is blocking them out the jobs because the union got a lock on the jobs. We talking about construction jobs. But what they do is this, though. They let people bid on the jobs, the unions, and they'll go hire somebody got the lowest bid that's got migrants to work for them. The same people Trump want to keep out the country is working for them people that's got them to work. So that's where the conflict come in at, right? But so I agree with you. I'm asking you, Janae, you have the ability and power. Please put that on the table with the Democratic Party. Because our brothers aren't skilled enough to go to college.
Right.
But every brother's skilled enough to learn how to use his hands. Some brothers want to learn how to paint. They want to make that $200 or $300 a day. Because when you start doing construction and building, you're going to make great money. Yeah. Now he ain't thinking about running out there sticking nobody up. Like you said, he ain't robbing nobody. He has an investment in his community.
He got stuff to lose. That's
what I'm saying, Janae. That's the problem. There's nobody really talking to poor black men. Let's go here. This is true. I think this is true, Janae. I've talked to a lot of poor black men, because this is where Trump getting his pillow from, that are legitimately talking about voting for Trump. They are saying that the Democratic Party are not really speaking them to directly. The Democratic Party are pushing the agenda more so for black women, because black women historically has carried the Democratic Party. This is statistically, this is true. So they feel like the Democratic Party aren't speaking to them, not young, poor in general. I met a brother I was at KFC last week. This brother was a security guard, obviously marginalized. And I just so happened, because I asked people randomly, who you voting for? I'm voting for Donald Trump. I looked at him, I said, wow, you voting for Donald Trump? I'm thinking, you poor, man. Do you know Project 2025, what you going to get into? He finna take everything you got, but that's fine. So when he said that, he gave me the talking points. I said, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. He said, well, Kamala Harris is dumb. I said, oh, she is? She took a law degree twice. I said, oh, she did that? But she graduated from college and Trump didn't. Crooked. Oh, he like immigration? I said, well, he married 3 people that was not American. Crooked. You see what I'm saying? But he was stuck on his talking points. So what I'm asking, if the Democratic Party can tailor a message more, because we're down to 5 weeks now until the election. Yeah. It is a tight race even in Michigan. Can the Democratic Party tailor a message more, speaking more towards poor, marginalized black men, even talking about the skilled trades? We need that. Yeah. We need that like we need to breathe air. Because these brothers is believing what Trump ain't told them nothing he gonna do yet. When he get up and speak, it's word salad. Trump, what are you going to do? I want to talk about immigration. There's more immigrants in this country under the Biden administration. Stop, man. What are you going to do for us? I'm sorry, I apologize. That's what he says. Or he say, well, under the Biden administration, we got a lot of inflation. That's what he says. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So he hasn't given us anything for brothers to work for. But brothers they've been taught to believe that the Democratic Party don't care about black people. Well, and I often remind them of this. Let me tell you this, Janae. I said, well, Big Mama's getting no food stamp. Where you think them came from? Am I right or wrong? When Big Mama was cooking for you growing up and getting that Social Security check and buying you them clothes, and LBJ started Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security came under the president from 1930. But it was Democrats. Let me be clear. They did that. You didn't have a problem with the Democrats then. With Big Mama, when you're hungry, you don't go to your girl house and say, hey, I want to ask you a question before I eat. Did you get them on food stamp? You eat that food. Mm-hmm. So, and I tell them that, and they're like, wow. What is your response to that?
Honestly, I know a lot of information is misleading or misunderstood. But it's very true that Kamala's actually trying to directly handle these things for us individually and not just indirectly. Like you said, Trump keeps talking about his military forces. He says he's going to stop World War III. I definitely don't believe that. He's going to very, very much likely inflict it. He's way too into the whole ISIS and immigration and everything like that. He has not even spoken or scratched the surface about black people or directing it to people to help people. Like, no, I do not believe that he's actually trying to help anybody. Kamala has always just been on the fences of, I know she states a lot about women, but I mean, it's obvious, you know. They're talking about abortions. He doesn't want to legalize abortions, and it makes sense that she'd have to defend women because, yes, she doesn't want the government, such as myself, to tell us what we can and can't do with our bodies. We want to be able to, in those cases, be able to say, okay, I don't think I'm ready for a kid, or any crisis happened to where it just so happenedly you was at the wrong place on the wrong time and you gotta go to the doctors the next morning. It shouldn't have to be government telling you what to do, Trump telling you, no, you gotta leave by Friday, probably today. He wants to do concentration camps. He wants to send people away. He wants to do all these type of things, and that has nothing to do with helping black people. I'll never know where they got the whole helping black people from with his speeches, because we all know that he's racist. We all know. And it's when he has them separated, when he has them gone, who is he going to pick on next? That's really my question. Because if it's just immigration and immigrants and just Hispanics, Muslims, whoever, all that'll be left is African Americans, Caucasians, people who've been here. So what is your plan after? He hasn't stated anything that actually help the economy, like we just spoke about, to help anybody. He wants to be more comfortable in his country. He wants America great again, the way he likes it. Right. It has nothing to do with black people.
Right. And when they say that, when you say make America great again to black people and migrants, whoa. So I'm trying to figure out, we struggling now. We've been struggling since our ancestors was human traffic over here in 1619. So when was America really great for us in general? I think that language is very offensive. But I want to comment on what you said concerning abortion. Now, I'm going to put this out here. I'm not a person that support abortion in general, but I don't have a right to tell a woman what she can do with her body.
Exactly.
That is tantamount to slavery, right? Because that's the same thing they told black women during slavery. Let's be clear about that. More so, a woman's body is more complex. Like the sister that's died down in Georgia in 2022, she needed, I think, something called a DNC or something, and the doctors were afraid to perform it because of the abortion laws.
Yeah.
She bled out in the car. Then when she was about to die, the woman died. What man wants, listen, this is what I tell guys. Man, listen, women bodies are complex, bro. We got it easy. Men got it easy. If your daughter is pregnant, have a miscarriage, and or her baby is stillborn, they have to be able to do a procedure to get that baby out of there. Or if there's something going on, men recognize that. Well, I mean, what do you want to do? Let your daughter die? And unfortunately, some people may have to deal with that in order for them to really understand we have no right, no human right, to tell a woman what she can do with her body. I don't care who you are. Whatever your opinion is about abortion, like mine, I'm against it. But hey, I don't have a right to tell you, but the government listen, they don't want you in their business, but they want to tell a woman what to do with her body.
Exactly.
You're right. They don't want you telling them, we don't want a affirmative action. We want the government telling us about affirmative action. We don't want government telling us what books we can have. But we're going to tell you that you can't do what you want to do with your body, women. That's government interference right there. And how does it hurt you as an individual to let a woman control her body? Women's bodies are complex. I remember, and I'm going to move on from this. This is important to me. My grandma, when I was younger, when I was a child, she left my house in an ambulance. She was hemorrhaging. I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And they said she's bleeding. I said, whoa. I didn't know how to accept that. It was painful. I can only imagine if my wife had to do something like that due to a pregnancy, that she had to abort a child because the child, and they said, well, no, you can't do that. Stop. Men stop and start getting behind these women. There is health care for women, period. First thing they think about, she shouldn't have had sex to get pregnant. There's more to it than that, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it than just thinking that abortion is a get rid of a child deal. There's a lot more to it than that. Okay. So I just wanted to add that, and I'm sorry I had to ramble on.
No, you're fine.
But I had to talk about that.
Yeah, it's an important topic.
Yeah, and I think it is too. And let me add this in before we go. Trump is going to give police complete immunity. Right? That's part of his plan under Project 2025, which is real. He's going to give complete immunity to kill. If he kill a black person, if a cop get complete immunity, there's nothing you can do about it. Keep that in mind. El Janae, you're welcome to come back. I love the topic. I love vibing with you. This is a great interview. Our time is up. They got another show waiting. But I want to say, hey, y'all. Y'all know on Politics and Poltricks, you decide with co-hosts Tula Cabone and Joseph Barnett. El Janae, let's give our hand, y'all. Y'all look at her, wave at her. She is the future for the Democratic Party. I want to say thank you so much. And y'all know I always end with power to the people, power to the people, power to the people. Peace.